Hi there, this is Datila, and welcome to the TNAIW GoGoPowerRankings show. As always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First off, the godfather of the Power Rankings, Lucha.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, he has no relation to Steve Maclin,
Allegedly.
the one and only Burt Maclin.
I wish I did, because I think we're going to see him quite high up on the rankings this week. So I want to ride on those coattails of Steve Maclin.
I can see why you would want to write those coattails. But anywho, who do you guys think made the Power Rankings this week?
My filter for coming out of my joint.
What?
My filter came out of my joint.
Oh, okay.
So I have to perform surgery. Keep it, lose it. It doesn't matter. I think it's good content. Let's go.
Okay. Bert, who do you think made the Power Rankings this week?
Well, I would hope to see Barry Horowitz on the countdown. And I'm going to tell you why. See, I knew that was going to pop, Lucha, because we kind of had this discourse going in the group chat where he said he's going to lose it if he sees Barry Horowitz anywhere near the top 10. But I'm going to tell you why I want him in the top 10. Michael Jordan, Joe Montana. What does Barry Horowitz have in common with those guys? He's undefeated in the big one. He went to the championship game, which we know impacts the big stage. He went undefeated, and he left. You know, you can't argue with that. He's 100%. I want to see him on the countdown.
First of all, that ham and egger only won because of Kiss Demon cost Johnny Swinger his match, okay?
A win is a win.
There's an asterisk over that win.
A win is a win is a win.
If Barry Horowitz shows up in this mother bleeping Power Rankings, I will have a bleeping cow. Do you bleeping hear me?
Lucha, who do you think made the Power Rankings this week?
I know who better not make the Power Rankings. I'm sorry. Let's see. This is a crazy. You know, No, I don't want to go that route either. I'm more interested in seeing where the people who won their right to be in this four-way are going to end up, because they've been kind of having a lot of power in the Power Rankings the last few weeks. So I want to see if they can continue to represent for the number one contenders.
Right on. But before we get into it, Bert, tell us how you joined the Power Rankings committee.
Yeah, how you do that shit? Wait, no, you're on this side.
You put up the Burt signal. It lets me know that you want to join, and we'll get you in there. And the Burt signal is basically just messaging me on Twitter at Burt Maclin 11, and that's all there is to it. So
I was about to say, we finally got a Burt signal?
So what if we put the Burt signal up in North Carolina? Do you see it over in Cali?
You see it everywhere.
Nope, I don't see it in Cali. At least not where I'm at.
You see it everywhere.
All right. Well, with that being said, you guys, let's play these Power Rankings. Number 10, Deanna Perrazzo. Number 9, Digital Media Champion Joe Hendry. Number 8, No Surrender Heath. Number 7, X Division Champion Trey Miguel. Number 6, World Champion Mickey James. Number 5, Time Machine Kushida and the Motor City Machine Guns. Number 4, number 1 contender Masha Slamovich. Number 3, World Champion Josh Alexander. Number 2, number 1 contender Rich Swann. Number 1, No Surrender Steve Maclin. Oh wow, very interesting this week's Power Rankings, honestly. All right, so let's get into it. You guys, number 10, Deanna Perrazzo, who it seems to me like she's turned face, which should be an interesting dynamic for her, because for as long as I've been watching Impact, she's been a total heel.
Yeah, she's been that much better than everybody else, and that hasn't necessarily like translated into Power Rankings, because well, I can't say that, because when Deanna was like at her height, she has gotten a lot of respect throughout the Power Rankings. So I guess I take that statement back. But yeah, Deanna's our girl.
She definitely is. Bert, comments?
I think Deanna being a face is kind of a product of necessity at this point too, just because there's really, other than Mickey, there's not really like a top face. I know you can kind of consider the Death Dolls faces. I kind of look at them more as tweeners, but so I think especially
Jordan?
since I think what?
Jordan?
Oh yeah, even though I think her the tweener, I just think especially since Deanna's going against Giselle, who they're trying to make as their like next top heel. I think Deanna is fully capable of being the face in the storyline. So her at number 10, yeah, it's good. I'm fine with.
Okay, so number 9, digital media champion Joe Hendry, who almost, only by confusion, did not get his car window broken. But what are your thoughts on Joe Hendry being number 9 this week, Bert?
Well, it seems like Joe Hendry, we do believe in him, but it seems like the countdown, the rankings committee can't decide how much they believe in him, because I think last week he was number 1 or 2, and this week he's already down to number 9. That's a big slide. So I want to hear what Lucha has to say, because I can't figure out why he's all the way back at number 9.
Well, I mean, you're right to a point. You know, he was like number 1, number 2 a couple weeks ago. But I guess it's more about what happened with everybody that's ahead of him, especially like when it comes to the champions go. Because I mean, just not to skip ahead a little bit, but you know, you see Kushida and the Machine Guns are at number 5 because they finally decided to show up and perform to make the power rankings. You know, remember that they're the champs, but you know, it kind of like slapped Joe Hendry back down to where he really should be, because yeah, he's the digital media champion, but like think of the hierarchy of the championships and the digital media. Excuse me. The digital media is kind of, you know, at the bottom there. At least he's still in the top 10.
Yeah, true.
I have to say, I was really disappointed to see him that low, because, like you guys pointed out, he was at number 1 for a couple weeks, like a few weeks ago. No, yeah, he was. And to see him far solo, it just kind of makes me think that people in the power rankings don't believe in Joe Henry. They don't believe in 252 pounds of pure motivation.
Of pure motivation and a kick-ass soundtrack to go with it.
Exactly. I'm so disappointed. I really hope to see him higher next time. At number 8, No Surrender Heath with a big victory over Eddie Edwards. Although you can say, you know, maybe there might be an asterisk there because, you know, PCO, it was obvious PCO was the one that caused that distraction. So, Bert or Lucha, whoever wants to go first, your thoughts on Heath defeating Eddie Edwards?
Yeah, you can go.
No, because where he's at, it kind of reflects the fact that yeah, he got a win over Eddie Edwards, but it was at with the help from Heath. You know, him being at 8 kind of like it's fair. So far, we're pretty fair in these power rankings where people are where they should be. Yeah, Heath got a dub, a credible dub, but it came with an assist. I mean, I couldn't have justified putting him higher than anybody else on here at this point. So he's good where he's at. Yeah,
him being number 8 is he won with a distraction. So any higher wouldn't make any sense. And yeah, good for Heath. I think it's showing that, you know, why he mostly fits in the tag team with Rhino. He's fully capable of being, you know, an upper mid-card guy. I could totally see. And, you know, he's fully capable in the ring as a singles wrestler. So good for Heath. 8's a good spot for him this week.
Definitely. No, I agree. Can't argue with you guys that. Number 7, our X Division champion, Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, as we found out, is going to be in a Monsters Ball match against Crazy Steve. And I have to say, Trey Miguel is doing excellent work as a heel. I'm actually digging his whole heel persona, you know. But what do you guys think about Trey Miguel being at number 7?
This will probably be the start of the people that I take disrespect with. You know, even though Trey Miguel wasn't on the show, if I remember right, I know he didn't have a match. He is the X Division champion. I think that he's in the best run so far of his time in Impact. I think he's money as a heel, and I think that at least I could get him 6th or 5, just because I think he's doing the best work of his career so far in Impact. So a little low for me.
And it's crazy. I mean, I'm in agreement, but I disagree at the same time because, like, you think about it, he's riding the high off of still to this day. He's riding off of both the victory over Taurus and victory over Mike Jackson. That's why he's still somewhere relevant in this top 10. If it wasn't for those victories, even though, yeah, he's the X Division champ, I doubt he would be on the power rankings for how much the committee likes to disrespect champions. I said it. So he's just riding that high off. And it's a good gig if you can hit number 7 without having to fight. All he did was get challenged this week, basically. And, you know, he's here higher than a guy who is about to fight for the world shot at the world title. So it's not that bad a spot. If you can get it.
Speaking of disrespecting champions, the Death Dolls are left out of this week's power rankings, and Mickie James being number 6, despite the fact that she didn't show up on this week's Impact, which I guess says a lot about how people view Mickie James. That kind of just like Trey Miguel, he didn't show up, and he's right underneath her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that we do say that we say it though. We're just getting hit by our own words. Champions carry weight, and I mean, some weeks it's a good point, and then some weeks it's just like, well, damn, that's just how it is. I agree, because X Division champ at 7 and the women's champ at 6. That's a little, I don't know.
Exactly. So yeah, well, let's keep the disrespect going. Mickie at 6. That's blasphemous. Like, she was on the show. She got attacked, I believe, by Masha. I believe. Like, I think
she
that
did
was
commentary. She did commentary.
Yes. And again, see, when people doing their rankings, for example, Lucha, when people were making out their brackets, for example, in March Madness, a lot of people will go chalk. They're going to predict the traditional powers. That's Lucha. I like that. He's going to put the champions on there. That makes sense. But there's a lot of people in the rankings committee trying to pick that 16 seed over that number 1, trying to make a big move. You know what I mean? And that for right now, that makes me upset seeing Mickie James at number 6. Like, come on, do better. What the hell? Like, come on. I'm pissed.
Pissed Burt off.
Yeah, like
Burt is mayhem for all. He's on his cousin shit.
Bag of mayhem for all.
Because if you think about it too, like Mickie is in the run of her life right now. This is like Mickey's year in Impact. Come on.
Not only that, it seems like we're getting teased with the match between her and Mercedes Moné.
Well, that's big. That's big time. Hopefully, we get that.
Yeah, but
are y'all ready for a world where Mercedes Moné may be top 3 on the power rankings?
okay, I think that's gonna be shocking. But yeah, bring it on. All right. Oh, but you know what? That's sometimes just the way the cookie crumbles. All right. So number 5, Time Machine, Kushida and the Motor City Machine Guns. Kushida getting a big win over Chris Bay. And we finally, so I know they grouped them together on this because they did come out together, but for argument's sake, would you just rank Kushida by himself? Because the Motor City Machine Guns, yes, I know they are a unit, they are a Time Machine, but they were just at ringside. So could you make an argument and say Kushida deserves to be on the power rankings, but maybe not necessarily Motor City Machine Guns?
I mean, with that same logic, then if Chris Bay comes out with Ace Austin and Chris Bay wins, you just put Chris Bay on, or you put Bullet Club on.
Ah, okay, fair point.
Gotta go with the squad, and since the squad is together here, now they become a part of each other. And with that being said, coupled on the fact that we just went the fucking bat for the X champ and the Knockouts champ, Kushida, you better thank the Motor City Machine Guns for being the tag team champions Otherwise, I don't think you would have hit number 5, dog, because the Motor City Machine Guns have been like non-existent on these rankings for weeks. They've always been a topic of conversation or even a butt of a joke. Where's the Machine Guns? How the Machine Guns not on the top 10? Kushida steps in, gets a dub over Bullet Club, who's not on the top 10. And then now they're number 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a little... Yeah.
It's almost like the committee can only put one set of tag champs on the rankings. They're never both on the rankings together. And also, I just want to say, too, last week, the reason we put Kushida and the Time Machine together is the same reason last week we put even though there was a little bit of tension with the group, the major players together, even though one of them lost and one of them won. We're going to put these teams together, especially when they're on TV together, and then basically they're telling us right now that they're a group, like especially going on in the current Impact canon. So that's why they're together. And yes, obviously the champs, the tag champs being part of the group definitely got Kushida the bump this week to be number 5. So yes, that's why he's number 5, simply because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, number 1 contender, Masha Samovich. Now, okay, I know she's number 1 contender, and she won her match. However, as Lucha likes to say, it was an enhancement match because I don't think there was any possibility that Alicia Edwards was going to beat her. And she did beat down Mickie James. So would you say her spot being number 4 was warranted this week? Burt or Alicia, whoever wants to start?
I think it was. Like, Impact is continuing to keep her strong. And yes, this week you ever, take out Alicia relatively quick and then, take out Mickie. And in the process, she just, again, she took out the reigning Knockouts champion, world champion. So, yeah, her being at number 4, it's totally fine with me. She is a number 1 contender as well. So,
I mean, Burt, you said it, and you said it just like it's all there. She won. Mickie didn't have a match. Mickie did commentary. Mickie got laid out. So I don't have a problem with it. If anything, it should add extra heat on Mickie, because her grip over the top of the mountain is starting to loosen up a little bit. She's been surpassed by the person who's challenging her next week.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, no, you guys always make like good points, like very fair, excellent points.
It's just like the movie Afro Samurai. She's wearing that number 1 headband. Everyone wants the number 1 headband. I know I probably nerded myself out with that reference, but
all right. Number 3, our world champion Josh Alexander, which I feel like he's number 3 this week because he is our champion. But I know he came out to try to help Rich Swann, but he got super kicked. Kind of like how Mickie James got laid out. He got super kicked. So this week, I mean, for this episode, I feel like he was just there for that angle, and he wasn't even interviewed backstage, if I recall correctly. He just kind of came out for that. So, do you think his spot is warranted number 3?
This is a very weird situation we're in. Like, looking at the top of the knockouts versus top of the men's, you got the knockouts champ at 6 and her challenger at 4. And you got the world champ at 3, his challenger at 2. It's like the champs are getting their respect because they're on the 10, but they're not getting their respect because they haven't been in situations to where, it's just really fun.
Well, Mickie, I think, is a case of just total disrespect and not enough respect for her. The Josh thing, unless like I said, unless coming off a big pay-per-view win, I think the committee, and this doesn't mean that they've soured on, I just think that they're a little burnt out on him. So I think the days of seeing Josh at number 1 are gone, but that doesn't mean, and when I'm saying he is a world champion, I don't ever want to see him any lower than top 5.
He's at the point. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you have to say.
No, it's kind of piggybacking off what you were saying. He's at the point in his reign where he's not wrestling as much as frequently because there's so few challengers at this point to where he's just gonna be where he's at just based off of who he is.
Exactly.
And especially with him having to look over across the table and see the Knockouts counterpart of him, not at that point in her reign where she's just out here, she's still fighting damn near every other week, just about. And seeing her always right above her. It's not a slight on Josh. It's just we're at that point in his reign where he's dominated enough, but there's also more domination around to where he can't sit at number one every week comfortably.
Yeah.
And it's crazy you bring that up, to go off what you were saying, because all last year, Josh Alexander was constantly at number one because he was producing banger after banger. I mean, moves, Tomohiro Ishii. He had
Charlie Haas,
Frankie Kazarian.
Well, see, right now,
Speedball Mike Bailey.
What's more interesting in the main event scene is all the people who aren't the champion trying to become that number one contender. There's so many guys fighting for that opportunity to take out Josh, and that's more compelling than the actual world champion at this point.
Yeah.
Which explains why number two is the guy who Josh is fighting at No Surrender, and number one is a guy who's fighting to fight Josh next.
We basically have the number one contender and then the uncrowned people's number one contender. So that says a lot.
This is the AP poll versus the computer poll, basically.
Exactly.
All right. At number two, number one contender, Rich Swann, who not only did he main event this week's Impact, but he had an incredible match and beat Kenny King. So I feel like right now Rich Swann is kind of at the top of his game. He's scheduled to face Josh Alexander next week at No Surrender. So I am not surprised at all that he is at number two. But I feel like it's been really good for Rich Swann right now. Burt or Lucha, whoever wants to go first, your thoughts on Rich Swann being number two?
I'm actually surprised because wasn't he in the main event?
Yeah, I just said he was in the main event against Kenny King and got the victory.
That's what I thought. Yet he's not number one. The streak has been broken. That's been the thing the last few weeks. You win main event, you get number one, but Rich didn't do that. Yeah,
that is true. So I can see what you're arguing, that because he was in the main event and because he's number one contender, that should have powered him to number one.
But the fact of just looking at who's ahead of him, it's just like, it's kind of similar with when the Death Dolls finally cracked the 10, and then they had that great run where they were always like no lower than 7. Because all they had to do was show up and win. It's the same thing. The committee wants Steve Maclin. The committee loves Steve Maclin, but Steve Maclin's not around enough until now. And it's crazy how he just, boom, gets number one. And I'm pretty sure he was matched like 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah.
He wasn't 2 or 3. Something.
Bert, what are your thoughts on Rich Swann being number two?
Well, first off, let me just say I think Kenny King deserved. I deserve to be on the ranking just because even though in a loss, and I know Kenny King has lost more recently, but I don't think any of those losses have hurt him because they've all been in big time matches. Well, I think of the pit that main event. I think has been. It's just in a long line of Impact having great main events, but I think it's been one of the best main events so far Impact has put on this year. But yeah, no, Rich Swann is the number one contender. And like Lucha said, his match was in the main event, and we haven't seen the winner of the main event usually at number one. I just think the person at number one is number one because the committee senses what I sense. Like, I think it's basically a foregone conclusion at this point that Steve Maclin will be the world champion. I just think that I just think we all know what's happening. Like, we all can feel it. Like, they're planting the seeds of him. I think that so he's going to be have the match for the number one contender at No Surrender, and then I don't think that they'll have him versus Josh at the March show. So that would be in April in Canada at Rebellion. What a bigger show than to have him beat Josh in his home country and to propel Steve Maclin as the next one, the next big star of the company.
I feel like you're only saying that because he's in the other room.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, if it wasn't obvious, it's going to be now. Number 1, No Surrender, Steve Maclin, who actually, I just checked my notes. He was actually the second match of this week's show, but he was third. So it was the opening Chris Bay versus Kushida match. Then was the Tommy Dreamer Bully Ray segment, and then his match went. So he was third, but the second match overall, getting a big victory over Rhino, and not to mention using Heat's wake-up call to finish off Rhino. So
I was gonna say Steve Maclin going full cell mode from Dragon Ball Z and just basically taking all the fighters' best moves. Using the gore, using the wake up call. I like that. Yeah, he completely deserves to be number 1. This actually makes me happy. This redeems a little bit from the disrespect we saw earlier in the countdown. Finally, I think we've seen Steve Maclin once in like maybe number 1 or top 3, but he completely deserves to be number 1. I know it was like the third match. I know he beat Rhino, but he put himself into the number 1 contenders match at No Surrender. And yeah, I think he's the next champ. So
he is going to be the Shawn Michaels to Josh Alexander's Bret Hart in Canada. That's for sure.
Well,
Or maybe he's the Austin to Bret Hart's to Josh's Bret Hart.
The only way that would be awesome, to be great, is if somehow Scott was at ringside and Scott somehow screwed him, since they're both from Canada. Then that would be that would add just some dramatics.
Or is he going to be the Roman Reigns to Josh Alexander's Sami Zayn?
Look, all I gotta say is y'all watch the main show with Jeff, and then the episodes where I'm on to, and we always talk about a certain team of proud Canadians making a
Team
comeback.
Canada.
A heel Team Canada with Josh and like Mike Bailey with
Scott.
Yeah, with Scott is like the evil father in the back. That would be money.
And then it's also like, I mean, I'm not comparing as far as like who they are and the level they are, but just the overall like situation, the booking. Like if you look at it for its bareness, like on paper, Team Canada as the Hart Foundation versus Steve Maclin as Steve Austin. That dynamic.
It totally makes sense for Josh's next run, for him totally to pull the card of like, oh, the fans didn't respect him when he was champion. You know what I mean?
Clearly not. He's number 3.
Yeah, I love when. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We are Josh Alexander's origin story. This power rankings here is his origin story. We put him at 3, and then 2 guys that's challenging him is who's ahead of him at 2 and 1. We are the origin story, Burt.
and this real quick, this week, would you have Rich ahead of Steve Maclin this week or no? Yes, I'm completely fine with that, just because I think that we've kind of set like a little bit of precedence that the main event winner does get the main event person, and also he is the number 1 contender. So the rankings committee just must be really liking Steve Maclin, which I'm fine with that. But yeah, I kind of want to see the thing stick where we would see the main event winner as number 1.
Steve Maclin is the committee's champion. He's not the people's champion. He's the committee's champion. So all he's got to do is show up, and it's like, oh shit, yeah, number 1. Boom, here you go. Have a nice day.
Next week is certainly going to be interesting in terms of who makes the power rankings, because we're going to look at both, not only the Go Home Show 2 No Surrender, but we're going to look at No Surrender. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see where everybody lands, because they could do good on the Go Home Show, but then totally lose at No Surrender, or they could be the opposite. Or they could just dominate the whole entire time.
I will make a prediction that the winner of the Knockouts championship match will be number 1, regardless of who it is.
Josh.
Number 2 will be number 2. I just think because I think there's a chance that we could see Masha win, and if she wins, there's no way I'm not putting her number one. And of course, if Mickey wins, I'm going to continue to put Mickey at number one because I think this is historic. This is historic right now.
Well,
Even
what
though
about
Josh
Trey
is going
Miguel?
historic
He's
as well.
competing in the Monsters Balls match, and that's probably going to be an incredible
I think that's
match.
on TV. Well, that's on TV next week. And even though it's on TV, I usually will put a little bit more weight in the stuff that happens on the pay-per-view when we're combining both shows. And I think the committee does that too. But Trey Miguel should be top 5 as well. I hope Trey Miguel's 5 or 4.
I'm looking at this in the sense of the like the college football top 10 or college basketball, whichever you want to look. We're in a position to where, let's say the champs retain both Mickey and Josh. Josh has a better case for number one because he beat number 2 versus Mickey, who just beat number 4. So if anything, this should be where we start to get the reversal or Josh's redemption of, I'm the top guy in the company and I'm ready for my spot back, because we've already allowed the field to get stronger to the point to where the field is starting to surpass him. So if he beats the field, that makes his case stronger.
The only reason I'm going to say that Mickey would be higher is because I think more people think that Masha has a chance of beating Mickey this week than people think Rich is beating. I don't think that anybody thinks that Rich is beating Josh this week. I think there's a good amount of people that will probably think, okay, Mickey's probably losing, even though some of them that think that she's not are the ones like me are thinking it's too soon. But we all think Masha's the next one, and she's facing her. So I think there's more of a chance of her winning. That's why I say Mickey winning, I would put her at number one. Because I just think that I'm not saying that Rich is an easy win. This isn't a layup, but we don't think this is Rich's time right now. We just said we know who's beating Josh. So I just think that him winning is just almost, taking care of business.
It's oddly similar to Sammy and Roman and Cody.
Exactly. That's a good point too. Wow. Good comparison.
I was going to say, Burt does make a good point because we all know Josh is beating Rich one no matter what. There's no way.
I'm not trying to disrespect Rich. Rich, like I said last week, Rich is going to be world champion again. I think that we're seeing the rebuild. I just don't think that that's happening on Friday next week.
I'm not saying it's going to be an easy victory for Josh. No, I think it's going to be a hell of a fight for Josh.
That could easily be. That's easily a match of the night contender right there. Yeah. We've seen how good Rich is. We know how good Josh is.
Yeah, I just don't think that Rich Swann has any chance of beating Josh. I think Josh is going to walk out a no surrender Impact World Champion. And I guess to make it easier is Josh's match is predictable, while as Mickey's match is a toss-up because we don't know if she's actually going to win or if they're just going to give the belt to Masha.
That's really interesting how they're going to book that match because they have to, if Masha is going to lose, they cannot have they have to find a way to make it where Mickey just gets out of there with the win. I'm trying to find a match to compare it to, or a finish that they could do, but they can't have Masha just looking like that she is losing her edge. Mickey just has to barely get out of there. You know what I mean? She just almost you knew if they ran it back, Masha's gonna get her. They have to leave us with that as a storyline if Mickey wins.
Kind of like a heel turn Mickey, she knew Masha was going to beat her, so she had to use a dirty tactic to beat Masha because Masha was going to beat her.
I'm fine with that because Mickey's great as a heel. I'm completely fine with that. If they could find some way to do that where it makes sense, do it.
Or maybe not, have her go full heel here.
Yeah.
But start to show flashes. It's just she'll go get the pin, but then she does use the tights, and they're like, "Oh wait, oh my God!"
Okay, yeah, that. This match starts with her feet on the ropes. Their next swing can maybe have her grabbing the tights, and then gradually, when the crowd starts to turn on her, and when they have her interview going Mickey, we've been noticing a change lately. Then you go full heel.
So then we run back Mickey and Deanna down the line, but the roles are reversed, and Mickey's the heel and Deanna's the face.
Yeah, but I
like that.
still think they have to find a way to get Masha as the champion. I think she has earned it, but you're
Look,
right.
Steve Maclin at this same point earned his title shot, and here we are a year after that, and my man still hasn't gotten his fair shot.
That's true.
All right, well, I think we just talked about everything, everybody on the Power Rankings. We didn't skip anybody, which was important. Is there any last?
It'd be kind of hard to skip number one.
Yeah. Any last comments or thoughts you guys want to say before we get ready to sign off?
Ziggy Dice needs to do better at picking opponents for Johnny Swinger. Like, I know he probably thought what he thought, that, you know, he's got a layup coming in, but maybe so he's got to get lower than Barry Horowitz. He's got to get a jobber's jobber, that, you know what I mean? A bigger jobber, I guess. Maybe Repo Man or somebody.
Okay, Johnny Swinger would have won that if it wasn't for that ham and egg or the kiss semen, okay? That ham and egg cost Johnny Swinger a victory.
Well, you got to be prepared for anything when you're in the ring, so I'm saying I think Johnny Swinger let his guard down.
As far as who do we bring back for Johnny Swinger, for Swinger to beat, I don't know, bro. Like, if you can't beat Barry Horowitz, like who? Yo. Okay, it would be dope if they brought in Fuego del Sol, and Fuego del Sol beats Johnny Swinger. It's like, damn, so this dude can beat Johnny Swinger. Swinger's not getting no dubs.
I think just because of the time of year, maybe bring in Johnny Swinger versus IRS. You know what I mean? Everyone's got their taxes going right now. Maybe bring in IRS. You know, that's...
Is the Brooklyn Brawler still alive?
I think so. A lot of these guys are still alive. They're jobbers. You know, they had an easy streak. You know what I mean?
I think it was my man Mike G, who does Brace for Impact. He on his review of the episode, he was talking about like future jobbers for them to bring in, and he was just going down the list of all these jobbers, and he was like, "Oh, well, there's this Scott D'Amore guy who was a jobber for WCW back in the early '90s. They could bring him in." Like that kind of popped me a little bit. Like, so it would be cool if we get Scott D'Amore, but not like, you know, Coach or this Scott
That's funny, yeah.
We get 90s jobber Scott D'Amore. So that would be hilarious.
I like that.
And as far as any last notes, because I do have one, I just want to just look the committee in their eyes. I want y'all to see my eyes. Committee, all however many of you there are, there's too many for me to count. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for not putting Barry Horowitz in the top 10. I don't think my blood pressure could have handled that. And I appreciate you guys for loving me and caring about me and using that second and third thought to not put this guy in the top 10 of Impact Wrestling. I love you guys.
They listened.
What a beautiful message from Lucha. Now I'm gonna take my spot back.
Yeah. Get over there.
And before we sign off, I want to say make sure you guys support all the other content on the network. Make sure you go support TBN Talking Bloody Nonsense with Craig and Nixon. It's 4 a.m. over there, but what a way to have them wake up with a bunch of new likes and listens. So go over there and listen to that. And always support the big show with Jeff. Captain Insano. And
Captain Insano!
Of course, like this show. Watch this show, obviously.
And we're in me, G, and Johnny Mac. We are in discussions with now Santino Marella. We're trying to figure out what or if we're gonna do with LOL TNAIW. That's all I can legally say. We're cooking something up.
I like that.
All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Like Burt said, please check out some of our other shows. Our Friends Across the Pond, Talking Bloody Nonsense with Craig, the MIC, and Peter Nixon. Or, as Lucha said, tune in for LL TNAIW. And as always, make sure you watch the main show, which is live every Sunday at 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific over on Twitch. And thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever this video drops or whenever TNAIW drops another video.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.